Disney is on its flop era, and I'm not even surprised. Hi, I'm Maria Bermeo, clinical psychologist, and on this channel we talk about various topics and we analyze them from a psychological point of view. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. Before starting this video, I want to remind you that I give in-person and online therapy. So if you need a consultation, please feel free to reach me out on my social media, my phone number, my email. All of them will be listed down below on the description box as well. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, it will help me out a lot. And if there's a specific topic that you would like me to talk about, leave it on the comments down below or feel free to DM me on my Instagram. I'm always open to suggestions and I love interacting with you all. As a lot of people, I grew up with Disney being the biggest, most influential entertainment company, not only for children though. Adults were also huge fans because Disney was characterized for its timeless classics as Mickey Mouse, princesses movies, and more. I mean, Disney was the crib of creativity, innovation. No one could do it like them, not even its direct competitor Nickelodeon, which says a lot about the massive success Disney had worldwide. But lately, that enterprise has been a disappointment, and I'm not saying it just because. It is undeniable. Just going back to 2023, they lost $4.9 million with The Little Mermaid live action. Then in 2024, they paused and refilmed the Snow White live action, postponing it to March of 2025, which ended up in a massive loss of $150 million. And recently, it has been announced they indefinitely paused the production of the Tangled live action. They didn't say why, but we can imagine. But seriously, why have they been flopping so much? From a psychological POV, of course. They don't have creativity anymore. Everyone has already said this, but lately, all Disney has done is recycle old content. Everything they have put out has just been failed remakes or sequels of already existing franchises. They put out Toy Story 4 and 5, I believe, live actions from The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, Snow White, even Lilo and Stitch is having one this year. And what's the issue with that? People are already familiarized with those stories. Therefore, the magic, the emotion they manifested back then when these things were new are non-existent today because they already know the main plot. There is nothing to look forward if you already know the story. It's just as eating. When you try a dish for the first time, it's most likely yummy, delicious, new, but if you eat the same thing continuously, it's not exciting anymore. You might even get disgusted. In Disney terms, the audience has gotten tired of the overdone remakes and they want something new. And by something new, I don't mean race-swapping characters, which leads me to my next point. Number 2, Disney has been trying to spread wokeness way too much. Okay, maybe this post right here is so unserious, but it made me think about how Disney has been doing way too much to checkmark every single DEI box, and they have been doing it all wrong. One of the most scandalous things was the lesbian couple kiss they added on Toy Story, and I'm gonna say it, the outrage made sense. Why did the staff put that on a children's movie? They shouldn't have, and it's not because of homophobia by any means, but there are topics that children are not able to understand that they shouldn't try to understand at that stage of development, such as the LGBTQIA, the whole alphabet plus community. Those are themes that preferably should be explained by the parents when they decide to do so, not by the media financed by progressive organizations, not by schools that have vulnerable groups teaching children from their own personal biases, by the parents who know when and why they want to have those conversations with their kids because they know them enough to recognize when they are ready to process that stuff in a functional way, not one that indoctrinates or brainwashes them. However, that case is not the only thing they have tried to put out onto people's faces. Disney, as I said before, has been race swapping the white classical characters they have on their catalog, only due to their lefty agenda, which is literally going against the essence that made those characters so loved and distinguishable. The Little Mermaid, for example, the original story was written by Hans Christian Andersen in 1837, a Danish man who was inspired by Denmark's traditional folklore, which includes mythology, which mermaids are a part of. Now, Denmark is located in Europe and its population comes from Vikings, so of course the characters shared through the tales were going to be based on their people as well, which explains why Ariel had certain characteristics. But the Danish tradition was broken when Disney decided to make Ariel black for the live-action remake, which is basically disrespectful and careless to the Danish culture if we go by the woke logic. Snow White was first published in 1812, had its last revision in 1854, which was published in 1857, all of them written by the Grimm brothers, German writers who got inspired by the folk tales from their hometown and the people around them. Germans are white, so of course the characters, including the starring, were going to be white. And now that we're talking about Snow White herself, her name was due to the color of her skin, white as snow. It wasn't even meant to be something racist. People made it racist thanks to wokeness. Snow White represented what femininity was at a time, the power women had to be the backbone of society, because the whole story, every single character revolves around her, including the prince, the dwarfs, the evil queen, everyone. But now, first Disney wanted to make the dwarfs Asian, trans, black, mixed, slightly white, which contradicts the original story, and due to the massive backlash, they changed them to those weird CGI things instead of maybe hiring actors with dwarfism that were willing to work. Inclusion. Then they fabricated this girl boss image for Snow White, in which more than a woman that was the center of society, they made her become a socialist, mixed-race woman from a privileged class that doesn't need a man, who is the fairest of them all because she was born on a snowy day. They destroyed every single magical thing from the original plot. They ruined its essence instead of writing a new story that could actually fit every progressive checkbox. Why though? Because they want to satisfy a very small minority that despises traditional things, because these people are so close-minded to accept that some can actually enjoy living in a more traditional way or were able to do it in the past. They want to indoctrinate everyone by erasing every single aspect they can from history to rearrange it until it fits their narrative, which is so evil and ill, because when they do that, they are snatching real story, real culture, real tradition away from people that really want to appreciate their heritage. That just shows the narcissism and selfishness from woke individuals. And it's also hypercritical for them to try to switch the stories from white characters in order to regain power. They didn't need to do it. We have movies as Brave, in which the princess didn't need a prince to save her and it was okay. We have The Princess and the Frog, in which Tiana, a black woman, thrives and nobody protested about it. And we have Pocahontas, which broke barriers when it came to races coming together. It was an indigenous woman with a white man and no one hated on it. The critics from today are not because people are discriminatory. Those are happening because people want classics to remain classics. If Disney wants to have woke things as well, they could create something from scratch for those demographic groups exclusively that want to consume that content, instead of forcing fans from classics to eat those remakes just because they are rebranded. That just makes fans feel betrayed, sort of forced to be or become woke, making it feel more like a lecture and not an entertaining hobby. In number 3, I believe they have lost the plot with their lack of media training, particularly with Snow White. In my time, if they were doing some kind of live action project, the actors would act very classy, royalty like, even in real life, especially during the pressers because Disney wanted to maintain the magic alive as much as they could. They wanted the audience to really like and bond with the actors that were interpreting certain characters so they would feel motivated to go to the movie theater and watch said productions. I think they forgot that part and didn't train Rachel Zegler specifically, or they made the worst choice ever by hiring that girl. Because Rachel, instead of being like a Disney princess, instead of embodying that kind and sweet Snow White character, she became a literal animal from the forest, especially by bombarding everyone with woke ideas. First, she said that the prince from Snow White was a stalker that kissed the princess without her consent, killing the magic from the kiss for being a representation of true love. In every single post she made about the movie, she had to add a free Palestine, politicizing a movie that didn't need to be mixed with politics. And thanks to that, people started to call out Gal Gadot, who is Israeli and actually a member of the army, which caused Gal to receive death threats, and Disney had to reinforce her security. And that strained Gal's and Rachel's relationship, ruining their dynamic for the promotions of the movie, therefore the perception from the public as well, due to their rejection to Israel or Palestine. Yes, Gal also made pro-Israel posts on social media, but at least she didn't attach them to any movie promo, meaning that she didn't mix Snow White with politics to at least maintain some of the magic alive. But Rachel, she had no breaks to stop her. She also had to swear on Trump voters, which caused people to dislike her even more and boycott the movie. Yes, she apologized, but it sounded more like, "I'm sorry you didn't like what I said," which killed any minimal chance she had to be perceived as a princess, ruining the entire movie and Disney. It made sense that the producers were desperate enough to fly to New York to meet personally with Rachel and tell her to back down. People do relate the actors to the roles they are interpreting in any production. It's a typical psychological phenomenon called association. So if Rachel acted erratic, the public most likely thought then the movie will be chaotic as well, so I may not watch it, and maybe Disney forgot about that. So now, what can Disney do to redeem or at least try to do so after many failures? As a psychologist, someone that studies the human mind, my advice to Disney is let classics be classics. They have been timeless for a reason. Yes, maybe most stories are not attainable in real life, but that's the magic of it all. People like their fantasy because from them it's a moment to disconnect from their daily lives, to be entertained and feel comforted through the art of imagination. That's why, till this day, they love the original characters, those feminine, sweet, adventurous princesses, those princes that were willing to give all of them for the love of their lives, those toys and cats that had adventures when their owner wasn't watching them, and that's why they love the original plot so much, one that was based on taking risks, being brave dreamers that were determined to reach their goals, not one that is based on a feminist, LGBTQ, black, single communist utopia that feels more like a progressive class instead of something fun and recreative. And now that I'm referring to political indoctrination, media train your actors because audiences will watch your movies or shows if your cast embodies the essence of them. They first connect with the real life pressers in which they get to know the people. They form a bond with them which makes them get interested in the productions you are putting out to then consume them. That won't happen if your actors get political and cause division. That, on the other hand, will cause a huge percentage to boycott your business. It doesn't matter if they are left-wing or right-winged, the public just wants apolitical, magical content in which they can find comfort and healthy fun. Is there something you learned from this video or something that you would like to add to the conversation? Leave it on the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like and share with someone that may find this useful. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out from more interesting psychology content. Thanks for watching.